How can you speed up slow Docker image build times? Imagine waiting forever for your Docker images to build when you need to deploy your backend application quickly. That can slow down your entire development cycle. If your Docker images are taking too long to build, don't worry. There are practical steps you can take to make the process faster and more efficient. First, start with smaller base images. Instead of using full operating system images like Ubuntu, opt for minimal ones like Alpine Linux or Slim variants. These images are much smaller, which means Docker has less data to process, speeding up the build. Smaller images also result in lighter containers, which are easier to deploy and manage. Next, look at how many layers your Docker image has. Every instruction like run, copy, or add creates a new layer. The more layers you have, the longer the build takes. To reduce build time, combine related commands into a single run instruction using shell operators like an and. This reduces the total number of layers and makes your build process quicker. Another effective technique is to use multi-stage builds. This means creating separate stages for building and running your application. You can compile or prepare your code in one stage with all the necessary tools, then copy only the final output into a smaller runtime image. This approach cuts down on unnecessary files and speeds up the build process. Ordering your Dockerfile instructions wisely can also help. Place commands that change infrequently, like installing system packages, near the top. Put commands that change often, like copying source code, near the bottom. Docker reuses cached layers when instructions haven't changed, so this setup minimizes rebuilds. Using a dockerignore file is another simple trick. It tells Docker which files or folders to ignore during build. Excluding things like documentation, tests, or local configs reduces the build context, size, and speeds up the process. When possible, fetch remote files during the build instead of copying them into the build context. Downloading files directly on the build server can be faster than transferring large files from your local machine. Finally, tools like Dive or Slim can analyze your images to find large or redundant layers. These tools suggest ways to optimize your images further, making future builds faster and your images leaner. In backend development, faster Docker builds mean quicker testing, deployment, and iteration. Optimized images also consume fewer resources during runtime, which helps with scaling and maintaining your applications more efficiently. By applying these practices, you can make your Docker image builds faster and your development process smoother.